Hi everybody, my name's Jay. I'm a cartoonist and a biologist, and I love to draw comics and cartoons about insects. My favorite insect is the honeybee, and so I'm going to show you how to draw a honeybee. We're going to start with the head. When I draw the honeybee head, I usually draw it as a sort of a roundish inverted triangle, like so. And that might be just an itchy touch too wide on that triangliness. So we'll smooth it out, curve it out a little bit. Great. And now what I do is I block in the eyes. So the eyes are pretty big on a honeybee. They take up a lot of real estate. We're going to be drawing a worker today, a worker honeybee. On a male honeybee, they take up even more space. They have even bigger eyes. Okay, about in the middle of the face, I'm going to draw two little round structures. These are called antennifers, and these are going to be the place where the antenna hook in to the rest of the face. And then I'm going to block out those antennae like so I know where they're going to go. Great. All right, so if we come back down here to the tip of this bee's rounded triangular head, we're going to draw a smile, essentially, across like this. And then I'm going to take the point where the smile hits the sides of the face, and I'm going to draw up from there and connect to the antennifer. Then I'll connect the antennifers, and then I'll draw back down. Okay? And below this region right here that I just made, this rhombus, I guess, this is known as the clypeus on the bee's face. Right below the clypeus is a flap called the labrum. So I'm just going to draw the labrum in like that. Right. And then underneath the labrum are two mandibles. So we've got the left mandible here and the right mandible here, and when the mouth is closed, they sort of meet at this line here. Now, to give the bee a little bit more personality, I like to draw the mouth open. And so I'm going to swing those mandibles out from this point here that I drew earlier. Now, the mandibles have sort of a curved shape to them as we look at them here. Right? So when I swing them out, they look something like that. And they form a little space here between the labrum and the inside of the mandible that, gives the appearance of a more sort of cartoony mouth. And so I try to use that when I'm drawing a story about honeybees to emulate the mouth in a way that maybe a human reader can more easily understand or relate to. All right. So let's now move on to inking. So we've got things blocked up. I think we're ready to apply some ink. What I do is I use a number of different tools. I use these Koh-i-Noor rapidographs. These are technical pens that come in different line weights, different thicknesses. And I started using these when I was a cartoonist in graduate school. Okay. So I'm going to start with an outline of the eye, of the entire face. Just the basic outline here. All right, great. Now you'll notice that I didn't just do the top. Turns out a honeybee's face is covered in little hairs. In fact, the body in general is covered by little hairs, some up to 1 million of these little hairs. To do the hairs, I like to use a brush pen. And I use the brush pen for other things than hairs too, but it gives it a more natural sort of feel as I put in the hairs. And I can make them look like they're a little more clumped than maybe the bee actually has it. Okay, good. Now it turns out that a bee actually has ommatidia, or has hairs in its eye. Which makes, in my opinion, the bee look beautiful in nature, but when I try to draw them, it just looks plain freaky. Okay, and then maybe I'll use one of these microns right here, pretty fine microns, to add just a few additional hairs to give the sense of the hair as it extends down the face. It gets thinner as it moves down from the top, right? Okay. let's tackle those eyes. So when we look at the eyes, as I said, they're really big. And most of us know, or have heard at least, that insects have what are called compound eyes. What that means is that their eyes are actually made up of a whole bunch of little bitty eyes. Those little bitty eyes are each known as ommatidia. Now, a honeybee worker's eye has almost 7,000 ommatidia, and I really don't want to draw that many. So what I typically do is give you the impression of the ommatidia. The way I do that is when you look at a bee's eyes, and I looked at a lot of bees' eyes when I was a graduate student and a postdoc, is it has reflections of light off of it. So with my blue pencil here, I'm going to draw in the eye proper with some of the reflections. So an outside reflection and then a spot here in the center that reflects the light. And then I'm going to take, I guess, this technical pen. It's got a pretty big line weight. And I'm around that reflective area, I'm going to put in some dots to give the suggestion of the ommatidia. All right? And maybe I'll do that all the way up here and all the way down here. And I'm going to do that over here as well. Okay, and then I'm going to color that in so that on the edges of the light here, I give you the impression of a whole bunch of different reflected ommatidia without having to create almost 7,000 dots per bee head that I draw. Pretty sure I'd still be working on my latest book, The Way of the Hive, if I had to draw in every single dot. Okay. Now, I didn't really show you this before, but these eyes, as I said, are really important. If I use my blue pencil here and draw in the honeybee's brain, so this is what's going on inside, what you see is that huge portion, these portions right here, these are the optic lobes, and they are designed for processing lots of visual information, which the bees use in terms of finding, identifying, and learning various flowers and flower patches. Okay. All right, let's turn our attention to the antenna. As I said, the antenna connect to the face at a little rotating spot called the antennifer. The antennifers are actually right above a region of the bee's brain called the olfactory bulb. And this is the part of the brain that really processes and filters incoming odor information. All right? Extending off of the antennifer, the first major portion of the antenna is known as the scape. And it is a single piece, relatively stiff. All right? There's a little piece called the pedicel that acts as sort of the joint for the antenna. And then the final section of the region of the antenna is known as the flagellum. Now, the flagellum looks different than the rest of the antenna because it appears to be chopped up into different regions. These little regions are known as annuli. A female worker has 10 annuli per antenna. A male has 11. So we're drawing a female, so we're going to draw 9 lines. That'll break it into 10 regions. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, great. Let's draw those in now that I've got my guides. Now, the antennae are a pretty remarkable organ because they're capable of a lot of sensory processing and collection. So, the first and most important thing that the antennae do is that they collect olfactory information, in other words, smells. So, honeybees use smells to find food sources and to remember them. Right? So they will build a memory of a flower that is providing strong nectar. and they'll create an association between that smell and getting a sucrose reward or a nectar reward, in the same way that when you smell chocolate chip cookies, your mouth waters, right? Or maybe if you don't like chocolate chip cookies, and next time you smell a kale salad, I'm sure there are people out there whose mouths water to kale salad. All right, so smell is the most important thing, but so that's like our nose, but the antenna also can be used to touch surfaces and taste things, so that also makes them a little bit like our tongue. They have the capacity to act as a speedometer, believe it or not. So the next time you're in the car, if you put your hand out the window just a little bit, you can feel how the wind blows your hand back. That's what happens when a honeybee is flying. The wind will blow the antenna back, and when it does, this sensor known as the Johnston's organ is going to record that information, and it actually tells the bee how fast it's going. All right, so a nose, a tongue, a speedometer, and they can also sense temperature and how much humidity there is in the air. So honeybees are capable of registering temperatures that, they're capable of learning temperatures and being able to distinguish between two temperatures that are only separated by 2 degrees, for example. That's pretty good resolution. That's telling the difference between 32 degrees and 34 degrees. So nice work, actually. The other thing that they're able to do here is actually, with the same organ, I think, that gives them the speedometer information, they can pick up vibrations in the environment, say from their sisters who are dancing. And those vibrations are called near-field sound. So they can actually hear the dance sounds made by their sisters who are communicating to them that they've found a food source. Okay. I'm going to finish up our lower lip here with the labium. All right. I'm going to put in a little sort of texture lining here. Okay. And I think that's going to do it for our head. The next time, in the next video, what we're going to look at is the next part of the body, which is the thorax. And then we're going to have a third video that's on the abdomen. And then we'll have a fourth video where we scan it all, put it all together, and color it. Okay, and so until then, I look forward to thinking about bees, and I hope that you do too. Bye-bye.